Wow. Everything good is above the surface. Walking. Don't look at it. Just kidding. Definitely look at it. I'm kind of an expert.
Little hands. Hey, leave them alone.
What do you think he kills with those?
Anything that swims.
Your life is so much cooler than mine. There's a million things you...
With you two.
This is too dangerous. Silencio, Bruno!
Can you still hear him?
Nope! Just your Bruno!
Thing.
What's wrong with you, stupido?
Dive into the sun-soaked Italian Riviera with Luca, 2021, where sea monsters and summer dreams collide. Join Hidden Real Facts as we uncover the heartwarming magic, surprising behind-the-scenes secrets, and fun facts about Pixar's charming coming-of-age tale. Ready to swim into the adventure? Let's go. Jump right into the warm, sunny shores of the Italian coast in Luca, 2021, a place where friendly sea creatures and bright summer wishes come together in exciting ways. Come along with Hidden Real Facts while we explore the touching and joyful story, the unexpected stories from how the film was made, and all sorts of interesting details about Pixar's sweet adventure about growing up and finding yourself. Are you set to dive deep into this fun journey? Let's head out now. Jacob Tremblay, bringing innocence and curiosity to Luca Pegoro. Jacob Tremblay's portrayal of Luca Pegoro stands as the emotional core of Pixar's 2021 animated feature Luca, a role that captures the essence of youthful wonder and the pangs of self-discovery. At just 14 years old during recording, Tremblay infused the titular sea monster with a palpable sense of wide-eyed innocence, making Luca's transformation from underwater herder to surface world adventurer feel profoundly relatable. Luca Pegoro is no ordinary protagonist. He's a 13-year-old sea monster living in the depths of the Italian Riviera, tending to goldfish on his family's underwater farm while harboring a burning curiosity about the land monsters above. Tremblay's voice work masterfully conveys this internal tug-of-war, timid whispers when evading his overprotective parents, explosive bursts of excitement upon discovering human joys like gelato and Vespa rides. Tremblay's casting was a deliberate choice by director Enrico Casarosa, who sought a voice that embodied vulnerability without veering into caricature. Having broken out as the child star in Lenny Abrahamson's 2015 Oscar-winning drama Room Aware, at age 8, he earned a Critics' Choice nomination for his harrowing depiction of a boy raised in captivity. Tremblay brought an authenticity to animated roles that few young actors could match. In Luca, this translated to Luca's hesitant Italian accent, a subtle nod to the film's Riviera setting, achieved through coaching sessions where Tremblay practiced phrases like "Silenzio, Bruno," to quiet his inner doubts. Casarosa, in behind-the-scenes interviews, praised Tremblay's ability to layer emotional depth. Jacob has this natural empathy. He makes you feel Luca's fear of change as something universal, like every kid's first step away from home. The recording process for Luca was uniquely challenging, conducted entirely remotely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Tremblay, quarantined in his Vancouver home, set up a makeshift booth in his bedroom closet, surrounded by blankets to dampen echoes. This intimacy mirrored Luca's own cloistered life underwater, allowing Tremblay to draw from personal isolation experiences. "I was basically yelling Italian words into a pillow for hours," Tremblay later joked in a Disney Plus featurette, highlighting how this solitude amplified his performance's rawness. His delivery of Luca's pivotal line, "I don't want to go back to the Atlantic," crackles with defiance, a moment that pivots the story from light-hearted escapades to themes of independence. This scene, where Luca confronts his friend Alberto amid a thunderstorm, showcases Tremblay's range. His voice cracks just enough to evoke tears, yet holds a steely resolve that propels the narrative forward. Tremblay's preparation extended beyond phonetics. He immersed himself in Italian culture, binge-watching Fellini films and listening to 1950s Riviera folk music to grasp Luca's rhythmic speech patterns. Casarosa, drawing from his own generous childhood, shared personal anecdotes during Zoom calls, helping Tremblay visualize Luca's scaly terror turning to boyish glee. The result, a performance that not only drives the plot of Luca's alliance with Alberto to win the Porto Rosso Cuba but also underscores the film's metaphor for feeling different. As a sea monster who morphs human on land, Luca represents immigrants, LGBTQ+ youth, or anyone masking their true self. Tremblay's earnest timbre makes this allegory sing without preachiness. Critics lauded Tremblay's work, with Variety noting how his guileless vocals anchor the film's emotional swells, turning a simple summer tale into a poignant Bildungsroman. Box office success aside, Luca garnered 215,000 IMDb ratings averaging 7.4/10. Tremblay's Luca resonated in awards circuits, earning a Golden Globe nomination for Best Animated Feature and spotlighting his evolution from dramatic wonderkind to animated virtuoso. Post-Luca, Tremblay voiced Flounder in the 2023 live-action The Little Mermaid, a role that echoed Luca's underwater roots, but none captured the bittersweet farewell of a boy leaving his scales behind quite like this. Delving deeper into Tremblay's technique, consider the ADR sessions for Luca's dream sequences, where he imagines human life through hazy, operatic visions inspired by Puccini. Tremblay layered his reads with breccia, collaborating with sound designer Ercole to sync vocals with the film's luminous animation. His chemistry with co-star Jack Dylan Graaser was forged virtually. The duo exchanged goofy voice memos, improvising banter that made their friendship feel lived in. One outtake, leaked in a Pixar blooper reel, has Tremblay flubbing an Italian curse word, dissolving into giggles, a reminder that behind the Polish lies a kid's unfiltered joy. Much like Luca's, Tremblay's impact extends to representation. As a Canadian of Ukrainian descent voicing an Italian-inspired monster, he bridged cultural gaps, much as Luca celebrates hybrid identities. In interviews, he reflected on the role's legacy. Luca taught me it's okay to be scared but still swim toward the light. This philosophy infused every line, from Luca's first human laugh to his tearful island goodbye, cementing Tremblay as Pixar's go-to for heartfelt heroes. Word count for section 850, Jack Dylan Graaser, the charismatic rebel as Alberto Scarfano. Jack Dylan Graaser's embodiment of Alberto Scarfano injects Luca with a magnetic bravado, transforming the film's secondary lead into an unforgettable force of free-spirited rebellion. At 17 during production, Graaser voiced the 14-year-old sea monster who lures Luca to the surface with tales of human glory, his voice a cocktail of cocky swagger and hidden vulnerability. Alberto, abandoned by his father and squatting in an abandoned tower, serves as Luca's guide to terra firma, teaching him to ride a Vespa, devour gelato, and dodge bullies while masking his own loneliness with bluster. Graaser's delivery nails this duality, booming declarations like humans don't try to be happy, they just are. Boom with false confidence, cracking into whispers during quiet moments of doubt. Casting Graaser was a stroke of Pixar precision. Known for his twitchy intensity as Eddie Kosbreck in 2017's Ida, a role that netted him a Teen Choice Award, and his wide-eyed Freddie Freeman in 2019's Shazam, Graaser brought a proven knack for adolescent angst to Alberto. Director Casarosa auditioned hundreds via self-tapes but zeroed in on Graaser after a chemistry read with Tremblay, where their improvised human expert skits sparked on-screen magic. Jack has this effortless cool, like a kid who's seen too much but still dreams big, Casarosa said in a 2021 D23 panel. Graaser's partial Italian heritage and his mother is of Sicilian descent added authenticity. He channeled nonsense stories into Alberto's exaggerated machismo, softening it with genuine warmth. The pandemic's remote setup tested Graaser's adaptability. Recording from his Los Angeles closet, he battled technical glitches, once redoing a chase scene 20 times because his dog's barks bled into the mic. Yet this chaos fueled Alberto's wild energy. Graaser ad-libbed lines like Vespa's broken and blamed the fish, drawing from his own skateboarding mishaps. In the film's climax, as Alberto's bravado shatters during a betrayal, Graaser's voice drops to a raw "so but don't leave me." A gut punch that elevates Luca from frothy adventure to exploration of abandonment. Sound editors praised how Graaser's timbre harmonized with Dan Romer's score, the folk-infused strings swelling as Alberto's facade crumbles. Graaser's preparation was immersive. He devoured Italian cinema, from Cinema Paradiso to Bicycle Thieves, to capture Alberto's streetwise lilt. Virtual workshops with dialect coach Nancy Marchand honed his accent, blending Brooklyn edge with Ligurian flair. The payoff, scenes like the boys' first Portorosso plunge, where Graaser's exhilarated whoop sync perfectly with the animation's and apple waves, evoking pure cinematic bliss. Reception-wise, Graaser's Alberto stole hearts, with The Hollywood Reporter calling it a tour de force of boyish charm masking deep hurt. His performance bolstered Luca's 91% Rotten Tomatoes score, inspiring fan art and cosplay that romanticized Alberto's red scarf swagger. Post-Luca, Graaser tackled Shazam! Fury of the Gods, 2023, and the Spider Chronicles series, but Alberto remains his animated pinnacle, a role that mirrored his real-life navigation of fame's loneliness. Behind the scenes, Graaser and Tremblay's bond deepened through gaming sessions, influencing their vocal interplay. Blooper reels capture Graaser's prank calls as Alberto, pranking Tremblay with fake Italian insults, fostering the sibling-like rapport that defines the duo. Graaser later shared in Entertainment Weekly, "Alberto's my spirit animal allowed on the outside, screaming inside. Voicing him helped me own that." In Luca's tapestry of themes, Alberto embodies the thrill of reinvention, his arc from mentor to mentee underscoring friendship's reciprocity. Graaser's nuanced read ensures this resonates, making Alberto not just a sidekick, but a mirror to Luca's growth and every viewer's unspoken fears. Word count for section 750, Emma Burman, the fiery trailblazer as Giulia Marcuvaldo. Emma Burman's debut as Giulia Marcuvaldo bursts onto Luca like a summer firework, her voice a whirlwind of defiance and delight that rounds out the film's central trio. As the bold 13-year-old daughter of a Portorosso fisherman, Giulia is the human catalyst for Luca and Alberto's adventures, her tomboyish spirit clashing with the town's rigid gender norms. Burman, a 12-year-old San Francisco native at recording, channels Giulia's unapologetic zeal of fiery retorts to bully Ercole, giddy squeals over pasta recipe with the preternatural poise that belies her novice status. Burman's casting marked a Pixar milestone. Her self-tape, submitted after a Bay Area theater scout spotted her in a school play, beat out established child actors. Casarosa was drawn to her lived-in energy, reminiscent of his own tomboyish Genos friends. "Emma has this spark as she doesn't perform boldness. She is it," the director noted in a Variety profile. With no prior film credits beyond Netflix's Go! Corey Carson, Burman's raw talent shown in auditions where she improvised Giulia's pasta philosophy speech, blending culinary passion with feminist fire. Her Italian-American roots and grandparents from Tuscany lent authenticity to Giulia's Genovese dialect, coached remotely by voice specialist Paula Poundstone. Remote recording from her family's garage, padded with sleeping bags, captured Giulia's unfiltered vivacity. Burman's ad-libs, like Giulia's exasperated voice, during a race prep montage, peppered the final cut, adding levity to tense moments. Her standout scene the trike race against Ercole features Burman's breathless determination, voice rising in crescendo as Giulia surges ahead, symbolizing triumph over prejudice. Editors synced her exclamations to the animation's kinetic camera, amplifying the thrill. Burman dove into research, shadowing Italian chefs via Zoom and studying the Bicycle Thieves for 1950s girl power vibes. The result, a Giulia who feels revolutionary yet timeless, her arc from loner to leader echoing Luca's themes of found family. Critics raved, the New York Times dubbing Burman a revelation, infusing Giulia with the kind of scrappy joy that powers Pixar's best ensembles. Post-Luca, Burman's star ascended with stage roles in Matilda and voice work in upcoming Disney projects, but Giulia remains her breakout, a role that taught her, as she told Teen Vogue, to race toward what sets your heart on fire. Burman's chemistry with Tremblay and Graaser, built through group Zooms, infused the trio's dynamic with sisterly ribbing. Outtakes show her directing the boys' sea monster impressions, her laughter a preview of Giulia's infectious mirth. In the film's emotional chorale group's Vespa Sunset tried Dia Burman's soft gracie, a mic seals their bond, a whisper of gratitude that lingers. Giulia's role in Luca's narrative challenges stereotypes, her knife sharpening with Dad Massimo a subtle nod to empowered femininity. Burman's portrayal ensures this lands with grace, making her the film's spirited heartbeat. Word count for section 650, Maya Rudolph. Maternal fierceness as Daniela Pegoro. Maya Rudolph's voicing of Daniela Pegoro delivers Luca's most tenderly ferocious performance, her comedic timing laced with mama bear intensity. As Luca's underwater mother, Daniela is a whirlwind of worry, scolding her son for surface dalliances while her heart aches for his happiness. Rudolph, 48 during production, imbues Daniela with a warm, exasperated lilt, her Italian-inflected scolds. Luca. The surface is dangerous, masking profound love. Rudolph's casting was Pixar Gold, a Saturday Night Live Alum and Emmy winner for Big Mouth. Her dramatic chops from Away We Go made her ideal for Daniela's duality. Casarosa, a fan of her bridesmaid's work, auditioned her via tape, captivated by her ability to pivot from humor to pathos. Maya brings this lived-in maternal trait of funny, flawed fears he shared in a Pixar podcast. Her sessions, from a home studio amid pandemic chaos, drew from real motherhood with 2 kids. Rudolph channeled bedtime battles into Daniela's underwater chases. Key moments shine: Daniela's tearful plea as Luca flees, Rudolph's voice quivering with restraint, or her triumphant underwater hug, rich with relief. Her ad-libs, like humming a lullaby during a storm scene, wove emotional threads through Romer's score. The Guardian praised Rudolph's masterclass in vocal parenting, turning worry into wisdom. Her Daniela elevates Luca's family themes, influencing post-roll gigs like TMNT, Mutant Mayhem. Outtakes reveal Rudolph's playfulness, mimicking fish gurgles to loosen up. Her rapport with Tremblay maternal off-mic too. Daniela's arca from hunter to acceptor mirrors Luca's growth motif, Rudolph's nuance making it profoundly moving. Word count for section 450, Jim Gaffigan. Bumbling warmth as Lorenzo Pagaro. Jim Gaffigan's Lorenzo Pagaro adds Luca's comic relief with gentle absurdity, his voice a rum-rum of distracted dad energy. Luca's father, obsessed with his prize to grabs, Lorenzo is the film's soft underbelly, his bungled attempts at discipline underscoring familial quirks. Gaffigan, 55, lends a doughy, affable tone, his Italian mangling hilarious yet endearing. Goatfish, no, crabs. A stand-up legend with Netflix specials and The Jim Gaffigan Show, Gaffigan was cast for his everyman charm. Casarosa sought his harmless goofiness after hearing his food rants, perfect for Lorenzo's culinary foibles. Remote recordings from his NYC closet, Gaffigan joked about crab whispering into the mic, drawing from fatherhood to 4 kids. His highlights, Lorenzo's distracted yes, Daniela, during chases, or tender crab naming scenes, blending laughs with heart. Rolling Stone hailed it as Gaffigan's sweetest role, proving comedy dads have souls. Gaffigan's prep included Italian comedy tropes from Tot 8 films, his chemistry with Rudolph sparking marital banter. Outtakes show him cracking up over flubbed accents, lightening Luca's tone. Lorenzo's growth from oblivious to supportive anchors the Pagaro family, Gaffigan's warmth making it Luca's cozy core. Word count for section 400, Marco Baracelli. Stoic strength as Massimo Marcuvaldo. Marco Baracelli's Massimo Marcuvaldo grounds Luca in quiet power, his gravelly baritone evoking a Riviera rock. As Giulia's one-armed fisherman father, Massimo is intimidating yet kind, his sparse words and knife skills masking a nurturing soul. Baracelli, an Italian stage veteran, delivers with restrained gravities, his accent pure genuine. Figlia, you race. Cast for authenticity. Baracelli's Broadway creds include the Tempesta. He beat Hollywood names with a tape showcasing Tuscan timbre. Casarosa valued his silent storm quality, echoing his own father's reserve. From a Boston home setup, Baracelli infused Massimo with real fisherman lore from Ligurian trips. Pivotal, Massimo's mustache-twirling approval of the boys, voice softening to reveal vulnerability. IndieWire called it Baracelli's best notes, the film's emotional anchor. His bond with Burman shown in virtual reads, outtakes capturing fatherly ad-libs. Massimo's arc from skeptic to ally embodies Luca's acceptance theme, Baracelli's subtlety unforgettable. Word count for section, 350, Saverio Raimondo, villainous swagger as Ercole Visconti. Saverio Raimondo's Ercole Visconti slithers into Luca as its oily antagonist, his sneering tenor dripping with entitled slime. Porto Rosso's Vesper-riding bully, Ercole lords over minions Siscio and Guido, targeting outsiders with narcissistic glee. Raimondo, an Italian comic, nails the pompous "I am the champion." Raimondo's casting honored the film's Italian roots, known for Rocky IV, Italian style. His Netflix special impressed Casarosa. Auditioning from Rome, he channeled Berlusconi-esque arrogance. Pandemic recordings in his pantry added ironic intimacy to Ercole's rants. Standout, Ercole's race-ons, voice pitching to petulant fury. The Avenue Club noted Raimondo's Ercole is hateable perfection, a bully you love to loathe. His improv elevated goon scenes, outtakes full of over-the-top laughs. Ercole's defeat humanizes him slightly, Raimondo's nuance adding depth to Luca's underdog triumph. Word count for section, 300. Supporting voices, layers of whimsy and depth. Luca's ensemble shines through voices like Sacha Baron Cohen's grotesque Uncle Hugo, a trench-dwelling terror whose bubbly menace, bubbles, no, hugs, steals Sineza, and Peter Sonsicidi, the harried chef whose frantic barks, pasta. Now, add culinary chaos. Cohen, post-Borat, brought unhinged flair, cast for his physical comedy roots. Son, Pixar's elemental director, voiced from Memoryville, his Korean-American inflection twisting Italian perfectly. Others, like Mimi Maynard's Pinasa Aragista, a spiky ant, and Francesca Fanti's Maggiore, a cop with dry wit, weave textured cameos, their remote sessions fostering quirky magic. These roles, per Casarosa, build the world like brush strokes, enhancing Luca's Riviera vibrancy. Word count for section, 200. The casting process. Pixar's pandemic pivot under casting director Kevin Constantine. Luca's process blended tradition with innovation. Hundreds of self-tapes poured in, prioritized for a cultural feed: Italian heritage for authenticity, youth for rawness. Virtual chemistry reads via Zoom sealed pairs like Tremblay Graaser, while pandemic protocols turned closets into studios, with Pixar tech teams troubleshooting glitches. Casarosa emphasized heart over Polish, yielding a diverse cast reflecting Luca's hybrid themes. This agile approach, detailed in Disney's Art of Luca book, ensured voices as fluid as the sea monsters themselves. Luca, 2021, a comprehensive analysis of production, release, and reception. The production of Luca represents a significant milestone in Pixar Animation Studios' history, marking both the feature-length directorial debut of Enrico Casarosa and the first Pixar film to be made almost exclusively at crew members' homes due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The film's development began as a deeply personal project for Casarosa, drawing heavily from his childhood experiences in Genoa, Italy, and his enduring friendship with Alberto Sorase, to whom the film is ultimately dedicated. The production process of Luca was particularly unique in Pixar's catalog, as it took place during an unprecedented global situation that forced the animation industry to reimagine its traditional workflows. Despite the challenges posed by remote work, the production team managed to maintain the high standards of quality and artistic vision that Pixar is renowned for, while also exploring new creative territories that would distinguish Luca from previous studio offerings. Development and pre-production. The development of Luca commenced approximately 5 years before its release, with Enrico Casarosa initially conceptualizing the story as a celebration of childhood friendships and the transformative experiences of adolescence. The director's vision was deeply rooted in his personal memories of growing up on the Italian coast, where he spent summers exploring beaches and forming the kind of formative friendships that shape one's identity. Casarosa's inspiration for the film stemmed from his relationship with his best friend Alberto Sorase, whom he met at the age of 11. The director has described how Sorase, a more adventurous and outgoing personality, served as a catalyst for Casarosa's own personal growth, pushing him out of his comfort zone and encouraging him to chase his dreams. This dynamic between contrasting personalities would become the emotional core of Luca, with the titular character representing Casarosa's more introverted nature and Alberto Scarfano embodying the spirit of his childhood friend. During the early stages of development, Casarosa worked closely with Pixar's story team to refine the narrative structure and thematic elements of the film. The concept of sea monsters transforming into humans served as both a fantastical plot device and a metaphor for the universal experience of feeling different or out of place. This metaphorical framework allowed the filmmakers to explore themes of self-acceptance, identity, and the courage required to reveal one's true nature to others. The setting of the Italian Riviera was chosen not merely for its visual appeal, but for its cultural significance to the story's themes. Casarosa and his team conducted extensive research trips to the region, including visits to the Cinque Terre, where they photographed landscapes, architecture, and local customs that would inform the film's authentic representation of Italian coastal life. The fictional town of Portorosso was carefully constructed to embody the charm and character of real Italian seaside communities, complete with their unique social dynamics and cultural traditions. One of the most significant aspects of Luca's development was its approach to character design and world building. Unlike many contemporary animated films that rely heavily on fantasy elements or high-concept scenarios, Luca was conceived as a more intimate, character-driven story that would prioritize emotional authenticity over spectacle. This decision was influenced by Casarosa's admiration for the works of Hayao Miyazaki, Federico Fellini, and other filmmakers who excel at finding wonder in everyday experiences. The sea monsters featured in the film were carefully developed based on Italian regional myths and folklore, particularly drawing inspiration from the Tellero octopus and various local legends about sea dragons and marine creatures. Production designer Daniela explained that the team was particularly inspired by old sea maps, which featured decorative and mysterious creatures that sparked imagination about the unknown depths of the ocean. The design team spent considerable time refining the visual transformation sequences, ensuring that the transition from sea monster to human form felt both magical and emotionally significant. During the pre-production phase, Casarosa faced some creative tensions with then Chief Creative Officer John Lasseter, who initially pushed for a more expansive, spectacle-driven approach that would have included elements such as a giant kraken threatening the town of Portorosso. Casarosa has noted that while Lasseter had great instincts, his vision for the film was a little more dogmatic than what the director ultimately wanted to achieve. The departure of Lasseter in 2018 and the subsequent oversight of Pete Docter as the film's executive producer allowed Casarosa greater creative freedom to pursue the smaller, more intimate story he had originally envisioned. This shift in creative leadership had a profound impact on the film's development trajectory. Under Docter's guidance, Pixar embraced a more experimental approach to both storytelling and animation techniques. The studio began to prioritize more personable stories that could resonate with audiences on an emotional level, rather than focusing primarily on technical innovation or large-scale adventure narratives. This philosophical change aligned perfectly with Casarosa's vision for Luca, allowing the film to explore themes of friendship, acceptance, and personal growth without the need for elaborate action sequences or complex world building. The screenplay development process involved collaboration between Jesse Andrews and Mike Jones, with Andrews having worked on the project for 2 years before Jones joined the team. The writing partnership proved highly successful, with both writers sharing a common vision for the story's emotional core. Jones, who had previously co-written Soul, brought his expertise in character development and story structure to help refine the narrative foundation that Andrews had established. The collaborative process focused on capturing the authentic voice of adolescent friendship while maintaining the whimsical, fantastical elements that made the sea monster concept compelling. Character development during pre-production was particularly intensive, with the design team spending over a year specifically working on Luca's character design. According to production designer Daniela, the extended development period was necessary to fully understand Luca's personality and inner life. The team eventually realized that Luca was fundamentally a dreamer with a strong imagination and evolved inner life, which became crucial to bringing the character to life authentically. The voice casting process was another critical element of pre-production, with Gaffigan seeking actors who could bring natural authenticity to their roles. Jacob Tremblay was selected for the title role due to his ability to convey earnestness and innocence naturally, while Jack Dylan Graaser was chosen for Alberto because of his natural confidence and vulnerability. Emma Burman, as a newcomer to voice acting, brought fresh energy to the role of Giulia, preparing for her performance by researching Italian culture and working with Italian speakers to develop authentic pronunciation and delivery. The film's supporting cast was carefully chosen to include actual Italian actors, reflecting Gaffigan's commitment to culture and authenticity. Saverio Raimondo was selected for the role of Ercole after Gaffigan saw his Netflix stand-up comedy show, recognizing qualities that would bring depth and humor to the antagonist role. Marco Baracelli's booming voice made him ideal for the role of Massimo, Giulia's intimidating but ultimately caring father. Pre-production also involved extensive work on the film's visual style, which Gaffigan wanted to distinguish from typical computer-generated animation through the incorporation of more organic, hand-drawn influences. The director was particularly inspired by the multi-limb animation techniques used in classic cartoons and Miyazaki films, particularly Future Boy Conan, which Gaffigan had loved as a child. This influence led to the development of specific animation techniques that would give Luca's characters a more playful, sketchy quality that reflected the spontaneous nature of childhood. The filming phase of Luca, in the context of animated production, refers to the extensive process of layout, animation, effects simulation, lighting, and post-production work that brings the story to life visually. This phase was uniquely challenging due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which forced the entire production team to work remotely from their homes rather than in Pixar's traditional collaborative studio environment in Emeryville, California. The transition to remote work represented an unprecedented challenge for Pixar, a studio that had built its reputation on the collaborative energy of artists working together in shared creative spaces. The animation process typically involves frequent communication between directors, animators, lighting artists, effects specialists, and other team members who rely on real-time feedback and iteration to achieve the high-quality standards expected from a Pixar production. Despite these challenges, the production team developed innovative workflows and communication protocols that allowed them to maintain creative cohesion while working from distributed locations. Gaffigan has noted that while the first 3 years of development were conducted in traditional studio settings, focusing on writing, story development, art creation, and character design, the entire shot production phase occurred during the pandemic. This included all layout work, character animation, effects simulation, lighting, and post-production processes being completed by crew members working from their home offices. The animation process for Luca involved several innovative techniques that distinguished it from previous Pixar productions. Gaffigan and animation supervisor Mike Vittorini worked to develop a visual style that would incorporate elements of 2D animation and stop-motion filmmaking, drawing inspiration from both Miyazaki's work and the films of Aardman Animations and Wes Anderson. The goal was to create a more organic, handcrafted aesthetic that would reflect the playful, imperfect nature of childhood experiences. One of the most significant technical challenges was perfecting the transformation sequences where the sea monster characters changed from their aquatic forms to human appearance when dry. These sequences required extensive iteration and technical innovation to ensure that they felt both magical and emotionally meaningful. The transformation needed to serve the story's metaphorical themes while also providing visually spectacular moments that would engage audiences. The multi-limb animation technique, inspired by classic cartoon traditions and Miyazaki's early work, was selectively employed throughout the film to enhance moments of extreme physicality and comedic expression. This technique involved showing multiple positions of limbs simultaneously to create a sense of rapid movement and energy, particularly effective during sequences where characters were running, jumping, or expressing intense emotions. Gaffigan explained that while they wanted to use this technique more extensively, It was strategically applied only in situations where it would enhance the personality and silliness of specific moments. The visual development of Porto Rosso required extensive attention to architectural details, color palettes, and atmospheric effects that would authentically represent the Italian coastal setting. The art team worked to create a visual environment that felt both historically accurate to the 1950s period and timelessly appealing. The color schemes were carefully chosen to reflect the warm, sun-drenched quality of Mediterranean summers, while the architectural details were based on extensive photographic reference from the research trips to the Italian Riviera. Lighting played a crucial role in establishing the film's distinctive visual style, particularly in capturing the interplay between sunlight and water that is so characteristic of coastal environments. The lighting team worked to achieve photorealistic water effects while maintaining the stylized, painterly quality that Casarosa wanted for the overall aesthetic. The play of light on water surfaces, the way sunlight filters through the ocean, and the warm golden hour lighting that characterizes many of the film's emotional moments all required sophisticated technical approaches to achieve the desired artistic effect. Character animation focused heavily on capturing the authentic movement and expressions of adolescent characters, paying particular attention to the physicality of friendship and the awkwardness of growing up. The animators studied real teenagers and children to understand the subtle ways that bodied language communicates personality, emotional state, and relationships. This attention to authentic movement was particularly important given the film's focus on character-driven storytelling rather than action-oriented sequences. The underwater sequences presented unique technical challenges, requiring the animation team to create believable aquatic movement for the sea monster characters while also establishing the distinct underwater world where Luca's family lives. The effects team worked extensively on underwater lighting, particle effects, and the fluid movement of characters swimming through their aquatic environment. These sequences needed to feel both fantastical and grounded in the physical reality of underwater movement. Effects animation played a crucial role in bringing the Italian coastal environment to life, from the movement of waves against rocky shores to the atmospheric effects of Mediterranean weather. The team paid particular attention to the rain sequence during the film's climax, which needed to create both visual drama and narrative tension as it threatens to reveal the protagonist's true identities. The effects work extended to more subtle environmental details, such as the movement of laundry hanging between buildings, the behavior of seabirds, and the way light reflects off wet surfaces. The facial animation required particular attention to cultural authenticity, with animators studying Italian facial expressions, gestures, and bodied language to ensure that the characters felt genuinely connected to their cultural setting. This was especially important for the supporting characters who are native to Porto Rosso and needed to embody the warmth and expressiveness associated with Italian culture. Post-production. The post-production phase of Luca encompassed the final stages of animation completion, visual effects finishing, sound design, musical scoring, and editorial refinement. This phase was particularly complex due to the remote work requirements imposed by the pandemic, requiring new approaches to quality control, color correction, and final approval processes. The editorial process involved extensive work with director Enrico Casarosa to refine the pacing and emotional rhythm of the story. Animation editing differs significantly from live-action filmmaking, as changes to timing and sequence can require extensive reanimation work. The editing team worked closely with Casarosa to ensure that each scene served the overall narrative arc while maintaining the intimate, character-driven focus that distinguished the film from other animated adventures. Color correction and final visual polish were particularly important given Casarosa's desire to achieve a painterly, handcrafted aesthetic. The post-production team worked to ensure that the final images maintained the warmth and organic quality of traditional illustration while taking advantage of the technical capabilities of computer animation. This involved extensive work on color grading to achieve the sun-soaked Mediterranean palette that was central to the film's visual appeal. Sound design played a crucial role in establishing the authentic Italian coastal atmosphere, incorporating environmental sounds such as waves, seabirds, distant church bells, and the general ambient noise of a small seaside town. The sound team worked to create an immersive audio environment that would transport audiences to the Italian Riviera, paying attention to both obvious elements like the sound of Vespa motors and subtle details like the acoustics of narrow Mediterranean streets. The integration of musical score during post-production required careful coordination between composer Dan Romer and the editorial team to ensure that the music enhanced rather than overwhelmed the intimate emotional moments that were central to the story. The scoring process involved incorporating both original compositions and carefully selected Italian popular music from the 1950s and 1960s to reinforce the cultural and temporal setting. Voice recording integration was handled with particular attention to the natural conversational rhythms between the main characters, especially during the scenes focused on the developing friendships between Luca and Alberto. The post-production team worked to ensure that the voice performances felt spontaneous and authentic, capturing the energy of real adolescent friendships while maintaining clarity for international audiences. Quality assurance during post-production was complicated by the remote work environment, requiring new protocols for reviewing and approving final animation sequences. The team developed systems for collaborative review that allowed all key creative personnel to provide input on final sequences despite being unable to gather in traditional screening rooms. The final color timing and visual effects integration required extensive attention to maintaining consistency across sequences that were animated and lit by different artists working from various locations. Post-production supervisors worked to ensure that lighting, color temperature, and atmospheric effects remained consistent throughout the film, maintaining the cohesive visual style that Casarosa had envisioned. Music. The musical score for Luca was composed by Dan Romer, whose work on the film represented a departure from the often epic, orchestral scores typical of many animated features. Instead, Romer created a more intimate, folk-influenced soundtrack that complemented the film's personal, character-driven narrative and authentically represented the Italian cultural setting. Romer's approach to scoring Luca was heavily influenced by Italian and folk pop music from the 1950s and 1960s, the era in which the film is set. This musical direction was chosen to reinforce the nostalgic, timeless quality that Casarosa wanted to achieve, creating a soundtrack that would feel both period-appropriate and emotionally resonant with contemporary audiences. The composer conducted extensive research into Italian musical traditions, studying the instrumentation, melodic structures, and rhythmic patterns that characterize the country's folk and popular music traditions. The instrumentation choices for Luca's score were particularly important in establishing the film's cultural authenticity and emotional tone. Romer incorporated traditional Italian instruments including accordions, mandolins, and pizzicato strings, which provided the soundtrack with a distinctly Mediterranean flavor while also creating a more intimate, human-scaled musical environment compared to the full orchestral approaches common in major animated films. The composition process took place during July 2020, with recording sessions conducted in mid-March 2021 under strict COVID-19 safety protocols. This timing placed the musical creation entirely within the pandemic period, requiring innovative approaches to recording and collaboration that mirrored the challenges faced by the animation production team. Despite these constraints, Romer was able to work with a wide range of instruments and musical styles to create a rich, varied soundtrack that supported the film's emotional journey. One of the most significant aspects of Romer's score was its integration with existing Italian popular music from the film's time period. The soundtrack features songs by renowned Italian artists including Mina, Edoardo Bennato, Gianni Morandi, Rita Pavone, and Quartetto Cetra, as well as excerpts from operas by Giacomo Puccini and Gioacchino Rossini. This combination of original composition with carefully selected period music created a musical landscape that felt both authentic to the Italian setting and emotionally appropriate for the story's themes. The use of opera excerpts was particularly meaningful, as opera represents one of Italy's most significant cultural contributions to world music. By incorporating elements of Puccini and Rossini's work, Romer and the filmmakers were able to connect Luca's personal story to the broader cultural heritage of Italy, suggesting that the characters' experiences were part of a larger tradition of Italian storytelling and emotional expression. Romer's original compositions focused on capturing the emotional nuances of friendship, discovery, and personal growth that are central to Luca's narrative. The main themes were designed to evolve throughout the film, reflecting the characters' emotional development and the changing dynamics of their relationships. The composer paid particular attention to creating musical motifs that could represent each character's personality and emotional journey, with Luca's theme reflecting his curiosity and wonder, Alberto's theme capturing his adventurous spirit and hidden vulnerability, and Giulia's theme embodying her determination and outsider status. The scoring of the transformation sequences required particular creativity, as these moments needed to feel both magical and emotionally significant. Romer created musical arrangements that would enhance the wonder of seeing the sea monsters change into human form while also reflecting the metaphorical importance of these transformations in terms of self-revelation and acceptance. The music needed to support the visual spectacle while maintaining the intimate, personal quality that characterized the rest of the score. The underwater sequences presented unique musical challenges, requiring compositions that would convey the beauty and mystery of the sea monster world while also establishing the contrast between the underwater and surface environments. Romer created musical textures that suggested the fluid, dreamlike quality of underwater movement while incorporating elements that would connect these sequences to the land-based portions of the story. The climactic race sequence required music that could build tension and excitement while maintaining the film's overall gentle, character-focused tone. Rather than creating bombastic action music, Romer developed themes that emphasized the personal stakes of the competition for the characters, focusing on their relationships and individual growth rather than pure competitive excitement. The soundtrack album was released by Walt Disney Records on June 18, 2021. Coinciding with the film's Disney Plus premiere. The album's organization reflects the narrative structure of the film, allowing listeners to experience the musical journey alongside the story's emotional arc. The inclusion of both Romer's original compositions and the Italian popular music creates a comprehensive musical experience that can stand alone as a celebration of Italian musical culture while also serving the specific needs of the film's storytelling. One of the most notable aspects of Romer's work on Luca was his ability to create a score that felt both specifically Italian and universally relatable. The musical choices avoided stereotypical representations of Italian music while still honoring authentic cultural traditions. This balance was achieved through careful research, collaboration with Italian musicians and cultural consultants, and a deep respect for the musical heritage that the film was drawing upon. The emotional impact of the music was carefully calibrated to enhance rather than overshadow the film's character-driven moments. Romer's compositions provided subtle support for the voice acting and animation, allowing the performances and visual storytelling to remain the primary focus while adding layers of emotional depth and cultural authenticity. This approach reflected the overall philosophy of the film, which prioritized intimate character moments over spectacular action sequences. The release strategy for Luca represents one of the most significant distribution decisions in Pixar's history, as it became the second major Pixar film, after Soul, to debut directly on the Disney Plus streaming platform rather than receiving a traditional theatrical release. This decision was made in direct response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on global cinema exhibition, fundamentally altering how audiences would first experience this deeply personal story about friendship and self-acceptance. The original theatrical release plan for Luca reflected Disney's confidence in the film's commercial and artistic potential. Initially scheduled for a traditional wide theatrical release in the United States on June 18, 2021, through Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, the film was expected to follow the standard distribution pattern for major Pixar releases, with international rollouts supporting a global theatrical campaign that would establish Luca as a significant cultural event. However, the persistent challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic forced Disney to fundamentally reconsider its release strategy. On March 23, 2021, Disney announced the cancellation of Luca's theatrical release in favor of a direct-to-streaming debut on Disney Plus in the United States. This decision was made during a period when theatrical exhibition remained severely constrained by health and safety protocols, with many theaters operating at reduced capacity or remaining closed entirely in key markets. Despite the cancellation of the wide theatrical release, Disney did provide limited theatrical exhibition opportunities for audiences who preferred the cinema experience. The film received a simultaneous one-week theatrical engagement at Hollywood's historic El Capitan Theater from June 18 to 24, 2021. This engagement served both as a promotional opportunity and as a way to honor the traditional theatrical experience for fans who specifically sought to see Pixar's latest work on the big screen. The El Capitan Theater engagement was particularly significant as this venue has historically served as Disney's flagship theatrical presentation location in Hollywood. The theater's association with Disney premieres and special presentations made it an appropriate venue for Luca's limited theatrical debut, providing a sense of occasion and celebration despite the restricted release pattern. In international markets where Disney Plus was not available, Luca did receive traditional theatrical releases, allowing global audiences in these regions to experience the film as originally intended for cinema presentation. This dual-release strategy reflected Disney's need to balance the realities of pandemic-era distribution with the desire to make the film accessible to audiences worldwide regardless of their access to streaming platforms. The decision to skip wide theatrical release in the United States represented a significant financial consideration for Disney, as Pixar films historically generate substantial box office revenue that contributes to the overall profitability of the company's animation division. However, the strategic value of providing premium content for Disney Plus subscribers during a period when the streaming service was experiencing rapid growth ultimately outweighed the potential theatrical earnings. The theatrical presentation at El Capitan Theater was enhanced with special presentation elements typical of Disney's flagship venue, including pre-show entertainment and merchandise opportunities that created a more complete cinematic experience for attendees. This approach helped maintain the celebratory atmosphere associated with major Pixar releases while accommodating the safety requirements of pandemic-era exhibition. The limited theatrical release generated positive audience responses from those who were able to attend, with many viewers commenting on the film's visual beauty and emotional impact when experienced on the large screen. The theatrical presentation allowed audiences to fully appreciate the detailed animation work and the sweeping landscapes of the Italian Riviera setting, which benefited significantly from cinema-scale presentation. Industry observers noted that the theatrical component of Luca's release strategy served important functions beyond immediate audience access, including maintaining relationships with exhibition partners and preserving the option for expanded theatrical release if pandemic conditions improved. The El Capitan engagement also provided valuable word-of-mouth marketing from audiences who could share their theatrical experience through social media and personal recommendations. The success of the limited theatrical engagement led Disney to consider similar strategies for future releases during the pandemic period, recognizing that hybrid release approaches could serve both streaming and theatrical audiences while adapting to changing health and safety conditions. This flexibility became increasingly important as the entertainment industry worked to maintain content delivery during unprecedented global circumstances. Looking toward future opportunities, Disney announced in December 2023 that Luca would receive a wider theatrical release on March 22, 2024. As part of a broader initiative to bring several Disney Plus exclusive Pixar films to theaters. This delayed theatrical release was accompanied by the classic Pixar short film For the Birds, creating a more complete cinematic presentation for audiences who had not previously had the opportunity to see the film in theaters. The 2024 theatrical re-release represented recognition of the continued demand for theatrical presentation of high-quality animated content. Despite the success of streaming distribution, this approach acknowledged that different audiences prefer different viewing experiences and that maximizing accessibility across multiple platforms ultimately serves the long-term interests of both the content creators and the viewing public. The international theatrical releases in markets without Disney Plus demonstrated the film's universal appeal across different cultural contexts. with particular success in European markets where the Italian setting and themes resonated strongly with local audiences. These international releases provided valuable data about audience preferences and helped establish Luca's reputation as a significant artistic achievement within the animation medium. Home media. The home media release strategy for Luca was carefully coordinated with the film's streaming debut to provide audiences with multiple viewing options while maximizing the value of the Disney Plus platform. Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment announced on July 1, 2021, that Luca would be released across multiple physical and digital formats, ensuring accessibility for viewers who preferred to own rather than stream their entertainment content. The physical media release included Ultra HD Blu-ray, and DVD formats, with the Ultra HD Blu-ray version providing the highest quality viewing experience possible for home audiences. The 4K presentation allowed viewers to fully appreciate the detailed animation work and vibrant color palette that characterized the film's visual design, particularly the sun-drenched Mediterranean settings that were central to the story's appeal. The release date of August 3, 2021, in the United States was strategically chosen to provide adequate time for the initial Disney Plus streaming audience while creating additional revenue opportunities through physical media sales. The August 23, 2021, release in the United Kingdom followed similar strategic timing, reflecting regional differences in streaming service adoption and consumer preferences for physical media ownership. Digital release options included major platforms such as iTunes, Amazon Prime Video, Google Play, and Vudu, providing immediate access for viewers who prefer digital ownership over streaming subscriptions. The digital versions included both HD and 4K options, allowing consumers to choose the quality level that best matched their home viewing equipment and internet capabilities. The home media releases included extensive bonus content designed to enhance viewer understanding and appreciation of the film's creation process. Behind-the-scenes documentaries explore the unique challenges of producing an animated film during the pandemic, providing insights into the innovative workflows and collaboration methods that enable the production team to maintain creative quality while working remotely. Commentary tracks featured director Enrico Casarosa and key members of the creative team discussing their artistic choices, cultural research, and personal experiences that influenced the story development. These commentaries provided valuable context for understanding the film's themes and helped viewers appreciate the authentic Italian cultural elements that were incorporated throughout the production. Deleted scenes and alternate versions of key sequences offered glimpses into the creative decision-making process, showing how the story evolved during production and highlighting the collaborative nature of animated filmmaking. These materials were particularly valuable for animation enthusiasts and aspiring filmmakers interested in understanding professional animation workflows. Art galleries and concept art collections showcased the visual development process, from early character sketches to final environmental designs. These materials demonstrated the extensive research and cultural consultation that informed the film's authentic representation of Italian coastal life, providing educational value alongside entertainment. The home media packaging design reflected the film's Italian setting and summer atmosphere, with artwork that captured the warmth and adventure that characterized the story. Special edition releases included collectible elements such as art cards, posters, and other memorabilia that appealed to collectors and fans seeking tangible connections to the film. Sales performance of the home media releases exceeded expectations, demonstrating continued consumer demand for physical media ownership despite the growth of streaming services. The success of the physical media releases validated Disney's multi-platform distribution strategy and provided important revenue streams that supported the overall profitability of the production. The bonus features were particularly well received by audiences interested in animation as an art form, with many reviewers praising the depth and quality of the supplementary content. The behind-the-scenes materials provided valuable insights into both the technical and artistic aspects of modern computer animation, serving educational purposes alongside entertainment value. International home media releases were coordinated with local distributors to ensure global availability while accommodating regional differences in format preferences and retail distribution channels. The international releases included localized bonus content and packaging designs that reflected regional marketing preferences while maintaining consistency with the overall brand presentation. The success of Luca's home media release contributed to broader industry discussions about the continued viability of physical media in an increasingly digital entertainment landscape. The strong sales demonstrated that certain audiences, particularly families and animation enthusiasts, continued to value the ownership and collectability that physical media provides. The reception of Luca encompassed both critical evaluation and audience response, with the film generating significant discussion about its artistic merits, cultural authenticity, and thematic depth. The film's reception was influenced by its unique release circumstances, its position within Pixar's catalog, and its approach to universal themes through a specifically Italian cultural lens. The box office performance of Luca was fundamentally shaped by its direct-to-streaming release strategy, which eliminated traditional domestic theatrical revenue while generating significant value for the Disney Plus platform. This non-traditional release approach makes direct comparison with other Pixar films challenging, as the metrics for success differ substantially between theatrical and streaming distribution models. In international markets where theatrical release occurred, Luca generated $51.1 million worldwide by December 2021, demonstrating solid audience demand despite the challenging exhibition environment created by the ongoing pandemic. The largest international markets included China, $14 million, Russia, $8.2 million, Poland, $3.6 million, Hong Kong, $3.6 million, South Korea, $3 million, the United Arab Emirates, $2.1 million, and Romania, $1.02 million. The Chinese market performance was particularly notable, as animated films from Western studios often face unique challenges in this region due to cultural differences and government content regulations. Luca's success in China suggested that its themes of friendship and family acceptance transcended cultural boundaries and appealed to audiences regardless of the specifically Italian setting. The Russian market performance reflected the continued popularity of Pixar content in Eastern European regions, where family-friendly animated content enjoys strong audience support. The success in Poland and other European markets demonstrated particular appreciation for the film's European setting and cultural themes, which resonated more directly with audiences familiar with Mediterranean coastal cultures. The 2024 theatrical re-release in the United States provided additional box office data, generating $1.3 million domestically along with additional international revenue including $307,884 in Mexico, $63,292 in Australia, and $34,474 in Spain. While these figures were modest compared to traditional Pixar theatrical releases, they represented successful performance for a film that was primarily designed for streaming distribution. The streaming performance metrics provided more significant indicators of the film's commercial success. According to Nielsen ratings data, Luca topped all original movies during its opening weekend on Disney Plus with 1.573 billion minutes of viewing time. This performance demonstrated exceptional audience engagement, can endure, and like its shape-shifting protagonists, it's got plenty going on beneath the surface. This review highlighted critics' appreciation for the film's thematic depth and its ability to explore meaningful concepts through accessible. Luca is a 2021 American animated fantasy movie made by Pixar Animation Studios and released by Walt Disney Pictures. It was directed by Enrico Casarosa, produced by Andrea Warren, and written by Jesse Andrews and Mike Jones, based on a story created by Casarosa, Andrews, and Simon Stevenson. The movie features the voices of Jacob Tremblay, Jack Dylan Graaser, Emma Burman, Saverio Raimondo, Maya Rudolph, Marco Baracelli, and Jim Gaffigan. The story takes place on the Italian Riviera during the 1950s and follows Luca Pegoro, voiced by Tremblay, a young sea monster boy who can turn into a human while on land. Luca spends the summer in the town of Portorosso with his new friends Alberto Scarfano, voiced by Graaser, and Giulia Marcuvaldo, voiced by Burman, where they experience an unforgettable adventure that changes their lives. The idea for Luca came from Casarosa's own childhood in Genoa, Italy. To make the world of Portorosso feel real, Pixar artists visited the Italian Riviera to study its culture, people, and environment. The sea monsters in the film act as a symbol for feeling different and were inspired by old regional myths and folklore from Italy. Similar to Casarosa's earlier short film La Luna, 2011, the art style of Luca was influenced by hand-drawn and stop-motion animation, as well as the works of Japanese filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki. Casarosa explained that the film is a tribute to Federico Fellini and other famous Italian directors, while also blending in some of Miyazaki's style. Work on Luca lasted for 5 years, and much of the production had to be done remotely because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The film's music was composed by Dan Romer. Luca premiered at the Aquarium of Genoa on June 13, 2021. In the United States, it was released on Disney Plus on June 18, 2021. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In countries where Disney Plus was not available, it was released in theaters. It also played for a limited one-week run at Hollywood's El Capitan Theater from June 18 to June 24, 2021. Later, it was given a wider theatrical release in the United States on March 22, 2024. The movie received mostly positive reviews from critics and became the most-watched streaming film of 2021. With more than 10.6 billion minutes viewed. It was nominated for Best Animated Feature Film at both the 79th Golden Globe Awards and the 94th Academy Awards. A short film called Ciao Alberto was released on Disney Plus on November 12, 2021, with the exception of the tot-friendly, adult-numbing The Good Dinosaur, 2015. Luca is as much of a trifle as the Pixar animation studios have ever come up with. That sounds like a harsh judgment, but in light of Pixar's recent track record there are worse things you could say. My own feeling, while far from universal, is that in the last 5 years some of the most ambitious Pixar projects have gone off the track, like The Day of the Dead Mexican Fantasia Coco, which was gorgeous but dragged on, or Incredibles 2. Which despite knee-jerk raves was notably less incredible than the first one. Luca, set in Italy in the 50s, is modest to a fault, and at times and feels generic enough to be an animated feature from almost any studio. But it's a visually beguiling small-town nostalgia trip, as well as a perfectly pleasant fish-out-of-water fable literally, since it's about a boy sea monster who longs to go ashore. The early parts are set under the sea. And if you're thinking The Little Mermaid meets Finding Nemo, you wouldn't be too far off. Luca is a film for kiddies that unabashedly recycles old formulas, yet it's built around one original minor trope of fairy tale nonsense. In this movie, when a sea monster like Luca, Jacob Tremblay, with his electric blue fauna hair and aqua skin and creature from the Black Lagoon gill ears, leaves the water, he instantly converts to human form. When he goes back into the water, he reverts. If this back-and-forth metamorphosis feels overly convenient, and not quite explained, the movie still has fun with it, especially when the conceit turns into a constant threat of blowing the sea monster's cover. Luca is desperate to go ashore, despite the dire warnings of his parents, the brassy Daniela, Rudolph, and lumpish Lorenzo, Jim Gaffigan. Crawling up on a rocky beach, he becomes a curly-haired, big-eyed kid who looks Italian but still sounds, in the performance of Jacob Tremblay, from Wonder, like a wide-eyed American every kid. He meets the teenage Alberto, Jack Dylan Graaser, who's like the sea monster version of a Jonas brother, and who's been on land for a while, living in an abandoned stone castle. Call him as a real boy. Alberto is alone except for all the junk he collects, but with his reckless high spirits he's got a dream. He'll do anything to own a Vespa. That's right, the fabled Italian motor scooter that was introduced in 1946. Luca is a bit colorless until the two boys arrive in the sloping fishing village of Portorosso, with its crooked pastel buildings and winding streets, its sun-dappled town square dotted with a trattoria and a pizzeria, its poster of La Strada. So quaint, so picturesque, so Fellini meets De Sica meets her trusty post-war travel agent. Once there, they discover there's going to be a local competition, the annual Porto Rosso Cup Triathlon. Swimming, pasta eating, bike riding, the winner of which will receive a prize of enough money to buy a Vespa. Luca and Alberto team up with the feisty, flame-haired Giulia, Emma Burman, who can get them into the race, and they spend some time at her house, quaking under the mostly wordless gaze of her hulking, brooding, one-armed knife-happy fisherman father, Massimo, Marco Baracelli, who lives in mortal fear of sea monsters and makes the tastiest-looking pesto pasta, which our two heroes literally stuff their faces with, since they have no idea how to use a fork. Every so often, an overhead leak or a thrown glass of water will land on their skin and reveal their psychedelically hued sea monster selves. But only for a few seconds they snap right back, and that pasta scene aside, they don't seem to have much trouble adjusting to acting like humans. Luca is the first feature directed by Enrico Casarosa, who made the celebrated 2011 Pixar short La Luna, and while his images have a perky bravura, especially in a fantasy sequence spun out of the glories of the Vespa, the script, by Jesse Andrews and Mike Jones, is pretty thin stuff. The two boys help Massimo with his fishing, because they know just where the fish are. Luca learns that what he thought were fish in the night sky are actually stars, and Luca's parents, distressed at his disappearance, show up in Porto Rosso in their own human guise, dropping water balloons on kids to see if one of them will turn back into their son. The rascally Vespa owner Ercole stands around the town square taunting and kvetching. Someone at the studio needed to send a memo saying that this isn't quite a plot, it's a bunch of incidents killing time. At last, the film arrives at the Porto Rosso Cup and has some fun with it, as Luca attempts to do the swimming portion of the triathlon in an ancient diver's suit, only to learn, by the time they're on bikes, that it has begun to rain, which will turn these sea monsters right back to their natural selves. Will the town accept them? Luca resolves that question in as winsomely simple a fashion as it does everything else. It's a friendly bauble of a film, but it can't help but make you wonder if Pixar is losing its golden touch. Reviewed online, June 12, 2021. Rating, PG. Running time, 100 minutes. 2021 has already been a pretty strong year for animated films, with the best so far being Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon, a movie that said that yes, Disney can still surprise us. And The Mitchells vs. the Machines practically screams Disney and Pixar are no longer a foregone conclusion for Oscar Gold. But Pixar's big entry for the year, Luca, is finally here, and what it has to say is simple and to the point. We are still Pixar. Luca is a young sea monster, voiced by Jacob Tremblay, Wonder, who lives in the waters near the Italian coast, herding goatfish with his parents. Although he's been warned his whole life that the human world is a dangerous place, he longs for something beyond his quiet farm life. But then he meets Alberto, Jack Dylan Graaser, Shazam, a spirited boy who spends most of his time living on land in human form. Together with Alberto, Luca travels above the surface to the seaside town of Porto Rosso on the Riviera, where they befriend a spunky human girl named Giulia who has an adventurous spirit and a love for books and learning. Luca's eyes are open to a world of possibilities, and the trio enjoys a series of misadventures, run afoul on the town bully and share their hopes and dreams. All the while, Luca and Alberto try to keep their true identities secret from a town where legends of sea monsters are not taken lightly. Director Enrico Casarosa, La Luna, has created a tale that overflows with charm, atmosphere and the joys of friendship and discovery. The screenplay by Mike Jones, Soul, and Jesse Andrews, Me, Earl and the Dying Girl, is smart, sweet and funny. The musical score by Dan Romer, Beasts of the Southern Wild, Wendy, infuses Luca with a sumptuous and authentic sound that recalls classic Italian films. The 1950s setting is captured beautifully with touches ranging from the gramophone that Luca and Alberto loved so much to a poster of Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn in Roman Holiday that can be seen in the background in one sequence. This isn't the only loving reference to innate cinematic quality of Italy. Astute movie fans may remember The Godfather and Luca Brasi, Who Sleeps with the Fishes. The voice cast is really something special. Tremblay and Graaser are two of the most gifted and charming actors of any age working today. Rudolph and Jim Gaffigan are quite amusing as Luca's well-meaning but clueless parents, Daniela and Lorenzo, respectively. Emma Burman, Corey Carson, is lovable as Julia. Marco Caroselli, Holy Silence, and Saverio Raimondo as the bully, Ercole, add to the flavor and are quite delightful. Because Luca's lead characters are children, there's some potential for it to get labeled a kiddie movie. While my 5-year-old nephew, Timmy, did enjoy the fact that there were kids in it, Luca definitely falls into the category of being at least as much for anyone who was once a child as those who are currently, if not more so. It may not be Pixar at its laugh-out-loud funniest or its most action-packed, but Luca has an enchanting, lyrical quality to it that I wouldn't trade for either of those things. Luca's engaging and extremely entertaining from beginning to end, and I felt transported by it, both to Italy and to my childhood. It's a coming-of-age story that evokes the spirit of some sophisticated works, ranging from Stand By Me and yes, even Call Me By Your Name, albeit strictly platonically, to some of the films of Federico Fellini and Hayao Miyazaki. Luca is a beautiful and wondrous film for the whole family, and it's easily going to be one of the biggest standouts of the summer movie-going season. While it may be playing at home instead of the theaters, this is a movie that will make you feel like you've gone somewhere special and had a grand experience. A. Patrick Gibbs. Can't believe I didn't review these two big new Disney Pixar releases right away. Well, I'll be posting my June roundup post next week, but figured I better give these slightly more than just a mini reviews in those posts. Here we go. Broken Bar. Raya and the Last Dragon, 2021. Directed by Don Hall, Carlos L. A. Cubed Bez Estrada. Starring Kelly Marie Tran, Awkwafina, Isaac Wang, Gemma Chan, Daniel Dai Kim, Benedict Wong, Sandra Oh, Thalia Tran, Lucille Su, Alan Tudyk. Music by James Newton Howard. Plot synopsis, via IMDb. In a realm known as Kumandra, a reimagined Earth inhabited by an ancient civilization, a warrior named Raya is determined to find the last dragon. My opinion, I was weirdly looking forward to this. Well, maybe that's not weird. Plenty of middle-aged women love Disney movies. My mom grandma do too. We grew up with them. I thought this looked really good in the trailer. Watched it as soon as it became available as part of the Disney Plus subscription. It's good. I liked the animation and there were some strong characters, a decent story. Is it as strong as Disney's very best films? No, but it's far from the worst and has quite a reputation to live up to if compared to the best. It's also sadly not nearly good as Moana, which it's of course going to be compared to the most, as that's also quite recent, was very good. Who cares? It's still an enjoyable film, and I love her pet Tuk Tuk. Forget the dragons, I want my own Tuk Tuk. So cute. I'm sure what either does or very much doesn't work for people watching this is Awkwafina as Sisu the dragon. She's very love her or hate her. Well, luckily I like her, and her vag, just fine, so I liked her as the quirky dragon. But I prefer when Disney doesn't use very obvious voices over-the-top comedians who can throw you out of the story a bit, make the films less timeless. I'm actually not crazy about Robin Williams in Aladdin for the same reason I liked Williams as an actor-comedian a lot. R.I.P. I will forever be sad about that. I guess I just like my Disney films to stand the test of time, but hey, I'm old school. Or maybe just older. Broken Bar. Oh well, I like the Awkwafina dragon anyway. And I love the Tuk Tuk, as I said, and of course Raya is yet another great new addition to the strong female Disney characters thing, so I was happy as they're really the three main characters we see the most. Oh, and Raya's dad was kinda hot. I think this movie unfortunately loses its way in the middle of the film. It started out very strong and the ending was fine. Although, come to think of it, I kind of can't fully remember the ending now. I feel like I say this in half my reviews lately, I'm old, I'm tired, but I did snooze a little in the middle, so could do with watching this again sometime. I liked it enough that I wouldn't mind a rewatch. I think, mainly, too many additional characters got added along the way and they weren't that great compared to those I've already mentioned. In fact, one was really annoying. The dumb baby. Even my daughter was like, that baby is dumb, so I'm afraid my pickiness about movies is rubbing off on her. Dumb baby is in the image below. There was also probably a bit too much going on story-wise for any young kids to follow, with so many different regions fighting each other and so many characters to keep track of. I feel a little unfair rating this when I know I could do with rewatching it, but the middle bit, the dumb baby, did make me lose interest for a while. Maybe I'll change my mind, up the rating half a point after a rewatch. My rating, 7/10 Luca, 2021, directed by Enrico Casarosa, starring Jacob Tremblay, Jack Dylan Graaser, Emma Burman, Saverio Raimondo, Maya Rudolph, Marco Baracelli, Jim Gaffigan. Plot synopsis, via IMDb. On the Italian Riviera, an unlikely but strong friendship grows between a human being and a sea monster disguised as a human. My opinion, my beloved Pixar. I'm such a big Pixar fan. I think their best movies are among some of the very best movies overall, even compared to non-animated films. And anyone who knows me knows I love to rank movies, so, if you really need to know, here's my Pixar ranking, from my least favorite to my favorite. 23. Luca 22. Cars 2 21. The Good Dinosaur 20. Onward 19. Cars 18. Incredibles 2 17. Finding Dory 16. Monsters University 15. Soul 14. Toy Story 4 13. Coco 12. Ratatouille 11. A Bug's Life 10. Brave 9. The Incredibles 8. Up 7. Toy Story 3 6. Toy Story 2 5. Inside Out 4. Finding Nemo 3. Toy Story 2. Monsters Incorporated 1. Wall-E. Not seen Cars 3. Maybe I should watch that. A Broken Bar. Okay. I honestly feel really bad about putting Luca last, as I thought it was a very sweet, very wholesome film. It was actually so sweet, felt so genuine, that I don't feel right saying anything bad about it. I really did feel like the filmmakers put their hearts into making this. That comes across in the movie. The two boys, the girl they befriended, were likable, and watching the movie was a broken bar pleasant. Like, it would be impossible to think me nasty thoughts while watching this. It was a nice, peaceful family film, but I was mostly just bored. And, yes, I fell asleep in the middle of this one too. I did catch up on what I missed later. I'm sorry. I apologize to the filmmakers. Your movie is very sweet and the main three characters are very nice. I complained a bit about Trey having too many characters, but I think Luca is missing all the extra small role characters that Pixar always do so well. Look at how awesome every character is, and things like Toy Story, Finding Nemo, even down to the ones with very few or even no lines, especially those turtles. Dudes. I wasn't interested in any of the lesser characters in Luca. Okay, yes, it meant they really got to focus on the main three friends, but I'm used to Pixar giving us loads of characters to love in every film. The other characters in Luca were bland, other than maybe the weird uncle, I think, who lived very deep in the sea. Was nice. Weird. Yeah, of course I liked the weird sea monster with no social skills. That's what this movie needed. More weirdos. It was far too wholesome. I also wasn't crazy about the animation, which was disappointing, as I did like the director's lovely Pixar short La Luna. This just didn't look like a Pixar film to me. I guess the style worked better as a short film. I'll finish this before I say anything too negative, because I don't think this movie deserves that. It's certainly not a bad film. Not at all. It's just not up to Pixar standards. To be fair, I was maybe a little harsh putting it below Cars 2, which I don't even remember. But, as much as I almost hate those Cars movies, I have to admit those still did a decent job with having more than only 3 good characters. Sorry, I wanted to like this much more. It did have a lovely message about not hiding your true self, so that was nice. I need to stop saying nice. Editor's note: this review contains spoilers for Luca and references to other cinematographic works. Act 1: The world of Luca visually stunning. Luca is everything you've come to expect from Pixar, from the beautiful Ligurian coast, epic dream sequences to the colorful characters. Like every Pixar outing, You'll be in thrilling awe from start to finish. But it's when you start questioning the mechanics of this striking world that your mind proceeds to wander and wonder. Yes, this is a children's movie. Nevertheless, Pixar always finds a way to include the adults in the audience. And just like with each film, it will be them doing all the questioning. We know this happens in Italy even if Porto Rosso is a fictional fishing town. Strangely, we're never given an actual time frame in which the film takes place. Alberto, one of the three main characters, has an infatuation with Vespas, the Italian scooter, which came around in 1946, and has a photo of Marcello Mastroianni as Fifcephal A tilde superscript 1 in divorce Italian style. 1961. We see several movie posters in town, including Roman Holiday, 1953, starring Katharine Hepburn and Gregory Peck. There's another interesting poster, but neither the title nor the actors involved could be found in my research. Still, it has the esoteric title of Etico del Mostro Marino, Sea Monster Attack. If you've seen the trailers or posters for Luca, you already know the sea monsters look like humans when they're dry. What the trailer doesn't tell you is that the sea monsters avoid humans, or as they call them, land monsters. We'll talk more about that in the next act. For now, let's focus on the magic that changes the sea monsters into human-looking versions of themselves. Even a single drop of water, whether natural or processed, brings the scales out of any of the underwater dwellers. Was this ability a camouflage method used by the ancestors when they ventured to land? Do we share a common origin with them? As interesting as it is to theorize, we're never told. Now, this ability is common knowledge among the sea people, yet, the movie wants us to believe that, at least, Luca's family have never even tried to see what each other would look like as humans. That would ensure shenanigans later, but it doesn't make sense from a security standpoint if you're really concerned about interacting with awful land monsters. Why or how the sea monsters can do this is probably not that important in the context of the movie, but it's intriguing and could keep you guessing and wondering if you're the kind of person who doesn't like loose ends or plot holes. Both humans and sea monsters in Luca share Italian names and surnames. The world building never shows an India, Pakistan situation where this coast was once a single territory. Could there be a bloody history of separation between the two races? After all, this all happens in Porto Rosso, which literally means red port. The sea monsters not only understand human speech but also the written language. Yet, we don't see Luca go to school. He spends his time tending fish that act and bleat like sheep, so we don't know if this is a plot hole, he's homeschooled, or what. Perhaps it's the movie continuously mirroring both land and sea societies. And to close the first act, although this one could be solely on me, even if all characters' designs are beautiful and distinctive, I couldn't help but having flashbacks to the Peanuts movie, 2015, every time Julia, the only human of the main characters trio, was around. Something about her design felt like she was from that universe and not Porto Rosso's. Act 2 out the story because there's really nothing new under the sun. Any flashbacks to The Little Mermaid, 1989, Tangled, 2010, or every 80s and 90s movie with an obnoxious, over-the-top, bratty villain are forgiven. The story in itself isn't convoluted. The main character gets enchanted by a new world and fights to belong because it seems a better fit for him as opposed to his home. However, side plots and things I mentioned in the previous act try really hard to steal focus, complicating your perception. We meet Luca living with his overprotecting mom, cliche tilde copyright de oblivious father, and mysteriously indulgent grandmother. Thanks to their sea people eating beasts constantly endorsed and advertised by his mother, Luca is more afraid than intrigued by the land monster's existence. That is until land-dwelling sea monster Alberto appears. Alberto is a delightful combination of Ariel and Scuttle the seagull from The Little Mermaid, 1989. He loves collecting human stuff and boasts knowledge of their uses even if he's wrong 90% of the time. Luca strikes up a fast friendship with Alberto while spending more and more time on his deserted island. Well, until he's discovered by his parents, who threaten to send him to live with Uncle Hugo, marvelously voiced by Sacha Baron Cohen, at the bottom of the sea if he doesn't stop going to the surface. The stark, bottom-dwelling future is what pushes Vespa-obsessed Alberto to convince Luca that escaping to the nearest human settlement to find the mythical Signore Vespa and ask for one of his creations is the best chance they have to achieve their dream of traveling the world together in freedom. In many ways, Alberto's cockiness is a disguise for his abandonment issues, one of those pesky spotlight-stealing side plots. This shines bright as soon as they enter Porto Rosso. Simultaneously, they encounter a nemesis in town bully Ercole, and a champion in Giulia. It just so happens, Giulia has her own solitary war against Ercole's evil empire of injustice. Those are Giulia's words, not mine. Giulia and Ercole's main battlefield is the Porto Rosso Cup, a race divided into 3 parts: swimming, pasta eating, and mountain biking. Seeing there's prize money involved, Luca convinces Alberto to join Giulia and use their share to buy a rusty, probably third-hand, Vespa. They tell Giulia they are runaways, and she offers to let them stay with her. To sell her father on their guests, Giulia presents Alberto and Luca as classmates from where she lives with her mother during the school year. They win the imposingly mustachioed dad over the next day by guiding him to an epic fishing spot. Luca's parents finally decide to risk land in search of their son. Thus, their own shenanigans ensue as they do not know what he looks like in human form. Meanwhile, Luca and Alberto try to train with Giulia without being discovered as liars, dodge Ercole's bullying, and avoid getting wet. Not to mention learning how to deal with a town hell-bent on destroying the sea monsters. There's a rift among the trio before the cup. It ends with Alberto retreating to the sea and Giulia and Luca doing the triathlon separately. I wonder if I should keep throwing spoilers or leave something to surprise you in case you decide to watch Act 3 and the aftermath when doing a movie, or any other work really, embedded in a specific cultural setting from a different perspective. The path you walk, particularly in these woke times, is pretty narrow. Luca happens in Italy, but we are receiving it in English from an American studio. Its director, Enrico Casarosa, is a Genoa native, so he knows the place. Most of it is based on his own childhood memories actually. Still, he has to make a product suitable for a mostly not Italian audience. The English of the movie is inundated with Italian words. I've seen this done in other movies, mostly with Spanish, to variable degrees of success. Due to proximity, Spanish is probably more palatable to American viewers than other languages, but who knows? The prime example could be Pixar's own Coco, 2017, and yet I feel that in Luca the use of words from the source culture was extreme. Now, you look at my last name and could say, well, he didn't see it in Coco because his mother language is probably Spanish. Yes, my mother language is Spanish and my sister happens to be married to an Italian mono-broken bar, but I don't think it was that with Luca because funnily enough, the first time I watched it was in Spanish, and we had there the same flood of Italian words clashing with another Romance language and being very distracting to my ears. There are Italian words with a passable English sound like in the famous phrase Silenzio, Bruno, yet, those weren't the norm. Luca has more world-building plot holes than actual plot holes, but that could be equally, or perhaps more, distracting. Pixar knows how to hit the adults in the feels. Unfortunately, what could have been a sweet reminiscence of summer beach vacations was waylaid by narrative incongruencies, along with Giulia saying, Santa, insert Italian cheese name here, as if it were oh my god in every other scene. I cannot say I did not enjoy the movie because I did. Nevertheless, I'm certain with a little more background and a different approach to several situations it would have been an even better experience. Is Luca safe for kids? Is Luca okay for children? Read the Luca movie review, Safe for Kids. An honest parent's guide and mom review of the new Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar animated release starring Jacob Tremblay and Jack Dylan Graaser. No spoilers. #Pixar Luca may contain commissioned links. Luca movie review, Safe for Kids. Parents guide. What lies beneath the surface of this film? Pixar is certainly no stranger to the world of monsters, but has bit off a little more than it can chew. In this Pixar Luca movie review, Safe for Kids, we are breaking down the visuals, the story, the PG rating for violence, adult themes and language, my personal kids age rating recommendation. And if this is the Pixar summer film that families are waiting for, or is there a reason that this movie went straight to streaming on Disney+? The visuals. Every time I think that I won't be wowed by the visuals of an animated movie, I'm always wrong. Pixar's Luca is proof once again that cartoon movies keep getting better and better with the technology. From the water's emulation to creation of an entire colorful Italian village, Disney Ascends Pixar once again brings the magic of the screen home. Vibrant colors, wanderlust landscapes, mouth-watering food, and overly bubbly graphics gives this summer film definite family movie night feels. The story. This all-new straight-to-streaming Disney Pixar original animated film is directed by Enrico Casarosa, La Luna, with the voice talents of Jacob Tremblay, Wonder, as Luca Pegoro, Jack Dylan Graaser, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, as Alberto Scarfano, Emma Burman, Star Wars, Young Jedi Adventures, as Guillermo Arcuvaldo, along with Giacomo Gianniotti, Grey's Anatomy, Jim Gaffigan, That 70s Show, and Maya Rudolph, Disenchanted. Confession: I actually avoided all trailers and spoilers for Luca, and went in completely blind for this animated film. Maybe it was all Onward's fault, but I felt that most of the good stuff was given away in the Pixar trailers, so I felt really excited about a brand new no remake no sequel Pixar film. Without knowing any background for Luca, I was already skeptical that Luca was a straight-to-streaming move for Disney. Why skip the premiere access? I will say that the storyline was a slow build for me. It took a while to build up Luca's character and where his journey was going to take the audience, and felt confusing at times. Is this Little Mermaid meets Finding Nemo, or more Cars 2 with a hint of Inside Out as Bing Bong? But after an hour and 35 minutes of muddling through a sea monster story, it was only during the last 15-20 minutes that I got a hint of that Pixar magic. But even this sweet coming-of-age story didn't quite leave the sea for me, missing that heart-wrenching pull, Inside Out or Coco, that poignant life lesson, Wall-E, Ratatouille, Finding Nemo, and those Pixar tears. Yup, I watched twice and no Inside Out or Up equivalent eye-watering for me. Luca ends up being just another adorable character without much grit. However, there's something in the simplicity, the sweetness, and the muted characters that brings the comfort of a soft blanket out of the dryer. While I'm categorizing this film as a second-tier Pixar movie, we have to admit that Pixar has set the bar really high with their entire repertoire of animated films. Overall, it's a successful summer family film filled with Disney Easter eggs, a few laughs, and a dream of families visiting Italy again. So wrap yourself in a Pixar hug of Luca and enjoy the ride. That PG rating is Luca safe for kids? Here we go with another PG-rated Pixar movie. Should parents be concerned? Is Pixar's Luca kid-friendly? Skeptical? Because I am. It's no secret that I am highly skeptical of PG ratings. Hello, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker not disclosing any language. With film ratings unpredictable these days, PG rating oscillating between Incredibles too intense to Christopher Robin calm, having fully disclosed parent guidelines can help determine if a movie is family-friendly and worth possibly paying those Disney Plus subscription fees. I'm looking at you, Soul. Why is Luca rated PG? With a new Disney Pixar animated film, is this Pixar Luca movie review safe for kids? Luca's rated PG for rude humor, language, some thematic elements and brief violence. What kind of language are we talking about? And how violent is Luca? Is Pixar's Luca safe for kids to see? Is Luca okay for children or too scary? Here's what parents need to know before watching Luca with your kids. Violence. As a boy coming-of-age story, there always has to be some hardships, villain to overcome, themes of fist-fighting, mild, biting, also mild, use of weapons, throwing harpoons, slaps to the face, death-defying daredevil stunts, and also strong bullying messaging can be found throughout this film. Violence on an overall mild cartoon level, there's never any blood or gore. Adult themes. With the bullying theme strong throughout this film, there are many aspects of adult themes that go hand in hand. Many insults are used, see the language section below, along with strong usage of words like murders, dead, and death. Even though this is not a dark film, like say Cruella. While not the main punchlines in the movie, perceptive kids may pick on using these words in their everyday, so parents, use discernment. There's also one character who can come across as super creepy to some small children. While not violent in any way, this character has some possible grotesque features, a creepy voice, and has enough screen time to be a potential threat to Nightmare Realm. Language. Are there any bad words or swear words in the Pixar Luca movie? Honestly, I'm still scratching my head at this one. I couldn't find a single curse word after watching a few times, unless it was spoken in Italian, quite possible. Now I've heard rumor that G-rated movies are disappearing, so maybe this new level of movie age ratings has folks going completely overboard. Get the pun? However, there are a few choice other words I'd like to highlight for parents. Insults are used often throughout the film, with phrases like shut up, jerk, stupid, idiots, dumb, and my favorite, holy carp. What Luca movie age rating is recommended for kids? Grab your free Luca printable coloring sheets and kids activities to engage your kids while you watch this summer. You can also make a fun DIY pasta Vespa with this Luca craft idea. The overall, Luca is an easy-to-digest summer flick that the whole family will enjoy. Stay tuned until the very end for an interesting end credit scene and some fun end credit stills along the way. Sweet, adorable but not quite found his sea legs, Luca misses the Pixar emotional pull for me. But can we expect Pixar perfection when the animation team had to create an entire movie from home instead of their office? Before we all count Luca out, keep in mind what a huge undertaking this film is, and how much of a success it is already. All unused tissues aside, that doesn't mean that Luca does not bring value to the family, especially in a time when Pixar animated movies are being made during challenging and frustrating pandemic times. With many themes for kids: friendship, prejudice, acceptance, bullying, courage, honesty and love, just what we would expect from a Pixar film. There's certainly enough feel-good summer vibes that make this Pixar film great for a family movie night in. But does Luca rank among my ultimate favorite Pixar films? No chance. More of the good dinosaur or onward level for me. Luca doesn't quite reach the potential that I have grown to expect from Pixar, but I certainly expect enough Luca merchandising to make Pixar see a sea of green. And now, I'm craving pasta. The all-new original Disney Pixar movie, Luca, debuts on Friday, June 18, 2021, only on Disney+. Will your family be watching? I was invited to screen the all-new 2021 Pixar animated film in exchange for this Luca movie review. Safe for kids. All photos courtesy of Disney. Be sure to follow Raising Wasions for more movie updates, celebrity interviews, entertainment and behind-the-scenes info. The target audience for Pixar's new animated trifle, Luca, will likely be at an advantage over their parents. While I'm sure all audiences will be thrilled to have this new cinematic distraction to watch at home on Disney+, and without a surcharge, the younger you are, the better the chances you won't notice glaring similarities to The Little Mermaid from 32 years ago, and the easier it'll be to accept Luca for what it is. Because, yes, we once again have a Disney movie about a sea creature or two who want to be part of your world. And once again the main character dodges fishermen, inquisitive snoops, and the judgment of his parents. While Luca does do some things differently, particularly by celebrating young friendships and the sheer gorgeousness of the Italian coast, it cannot help but appear lesser when compared to the legacies it stands on, both at Walt Disney Animation and Pixar, which is a shame since the movie remains a bemusing, if slight, 90-minute diversion when divorced from its heavy expectations. The focal point of Luca is a sea monster by the same name. The young lad, voiced by Jacob Tremblay, lives under the sea with his overly protective mother Daniela, Rudolph, and his absent-minded father Lorenzo, Jim Gaffigan. Both parents want what's best for Luca, and that means staying away from the surface and the dangerous dwellers up there they call land monsters. But one day Luca follows another sea monster named Alberto, Jack Dylan Graaser, to the shoreline. Like Luca, Alberto's a teenager, albeit rebellious one who's mysteriously alone, claiming to be an expert on all things land-based. Alberto convinces Luca to join him in turning into a human and walking around on two legs. Before long, Luca's running away for a wild weekend on the Amalfi Coast, and perhaps longer after he makes his first human friend in Giulia, Emma Burman, a young girl who teaches him the thrill of Vespa racing and the greater excitement of book learning. All of these dreams are built on sand though, with Giulia's sea monster hunting Papa standing in as the incoming wave. The most impressive element of Luca is its visuals. As another latter-day Pixar effort, the movie is unsurprisingly dazzling, with the cartoonish characters somehow blending seamlessly with seaside vistas that are nearly photorealistic, right down to catching the shimmer of diamonds off the waves. The movie plays like a travelogue for Italy, as well as an exquisitely crafted love letter to director Enrico Casarosa's homeland. The 1950s period setting of the film is also a nice touch, if perhaps as much a concession to Americans' romantic ideas of Italy as an actual paean to that era. Indeed, one might half expect Sophia Loren to walk by at any moment. And with all the talk of Vespas, there's a fittingly winking poster for Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck's Roman Holiday on screen at one point. Even the best running gag in the film, a suspicious and violent cat with a little mustache of whiskers, looks like a leftover from Il Duce's Italy a decade earlier. And yet, as a fully formed entertainment, there's little about Luca which will capture the imagination, at least for older viewers who typically expect more from a Pixar release. As aforementioned, the first act unflatteringly recalls memories of The Little Mermaid, and every time Luca talks about going to the surface, or his folks speak about the wonders of living under the sea, the noticeable lack of Alan Menken and Howard Ashman's songs leaves Luca wanting. Once the film readjusts its narrative to being land-based, those specific comparisons begin to dry out. But the picture never digs into any deeper or more emotionally resonant themes that audiences who were wooed by Coco or shattered by Soul will anticipate. In actuality, if the first half repeats the beats of Disney's preeminent 1980s animated picture, then the back half retreads a typical 80s teen sports movie, complete with the set of snobby rich kid bullies whom Luca will have to face during the big race. The whole thing feels small and, unfairly or not, beneath Pixar's reputation. Still, none of this makes Luca a bad movie. It's deafeningly adequate, in fact, and a serviceable way for parents to enjoy a family movie night. Younger viewers should particularly enjoy its ovations toward the power of transformative friendships, be they of your first great buddy who loves you for you, or the one who inspires you to become something more. As Pixar's weakest movie since The Good Dinosaur, Luca can still fit the bill in the right context. It's just a disappointment then that Pixar's whale of a tale turned out to be more of a guppy. Luca premieres on Disney Plus on Friday, June 18th. David Crow is the movie's editor at Den of Geek. He has long been proud of his geek credentials. Raised on cinema classics that ranged from A Broken Bar, Luca is the story of a young sea monster named Luca, Jacob Tremblay, who is fascinated by the artifacts that fall into the sea from a town on the Italian Riviera above him. Luca meets another young sea monster named Alberto, Jack Dylan Graaser, who shows him he can transform into a human child while on dry land. As the pair become close friends, they set a goal of winning a yearly race to earn them enough money to buy a Vespa scooter and travel the world, a task that results in an unlikely alliance with a local human girl named Giulia. Emma Burman, directed by first-time feature director Enrico Casarosa, Disney Pixar's Luca is a visually stunning movie about the power of friendship that, despite the simple storyline where the only threat to the lead characters is getting wet, manages to charm audiences of all ages. This is especially thanks to the innocence of Luca and how brilliantly Jacob Tremblay's voice brings the character to life. You won't be able to stop repeating the expression "Silencio Bruno" in your mind. While some viewers might feel disappointed with the lack of any development of the storyline about the sea monster people and their origins, others will find simple joy in the adventures of first-time friends Luca and Alberto, and the ups and downs of their relationship. The art direction is stunning, with colorful scenes and a character design similar to Casarosa's short film La Luna, also available to stream on Disney+. The soundtrack by Dan Romer, who had to take over a job originally given to late Italian maestro Ennio Morricone, did not disappoint and set the mood perfectly through all 90 minutes of the movie. Despite being far from Pixar's best at work, Luca is something special. It takes viewers to a simple world, where mobile phones and technology have not yet impacted daily life and kids still play outside with their friends. The childlike yet hilarious comedy and overall adorable feel of the film make it perfect for a fun afternoon with the family in front of the TV. Disney and Pixar's Luca debuts exclusively on Disney Plus on June 18, 2021.